What is up, DMV basketball fans? Welcome to another Bleav in DMV Hoops. I've got a great guest joining me here today, Coach Kenny Blakeney of the Howard University men's basketball team. Coach Blakeney, thank you so much for coming on here.
Matt, thank you for being here.
I said this before we started recording, but I'm going to repeat it for everybody here too. Just the list of coaches you've been associated with and played for and worked under is incredible. And I just want to spend a little time going through that. But first, just got to get our ad reads out of the way here. So we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside hard iced teas, hard lemonades, hard every flavor you can think of, peach teas. They're all delicious. And we're also brought to you by BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your betting needs. You can get the latest odds, lines, matchup reports, boxing, golf, UFC, tennis, everything. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place all your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games. Head to our website and use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so I mentioned a little bit there. You played at DeMatha under Morgan Wootten, who, if anyone is not familiar with that from the DMV, they should be ashamed. He is an all-time legend. I guess, what was that experience like? And was being around Coach Wootten like at all influential in your desire to be a coach later in life?
Wow. I was very lucky and fortunate to have a chance to play for Coach Wootten and attend DeMatha Catholic High School. Some people that know me well may know this, but I went to DeMatha to play football.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. I went to play football and, wanted to try to pursue that and was a quarterback. And was at the time when I was a freshman year, I went to play freshman quarterback, and they had been grooming a young man that was a quarterback that they've kind of brought up through the St. Mark's system. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to play quarterback. So I ended up playing freshman football. And then when basketball season came, I really locked in and focused on basketball. But having a chance to play for Coach Wootten was the best, one of the best experiences ever. Like, as much was said about him as being the type of person that he was and the type of coach he was, to me, in my heart and my soul and my spirit, he was even better. Just one of the best basketball coaches to ever do it. One of the best men to ever do it. And for me, I was just very lucky and fortunate to have a chance to sit in his classroom, on the basketball court and try to take in as much as possible. We have Rod Balanis, who was one of my teammates. He was a senior when I was a sophomore. That's on our staff at Howard. And he and I were talking yesterday, and, Coach Wooten's lessons still pop up in our conversation about, how things we see should go, or just little fundamental things that we try to implement in our program. He's still present with everything we do at Howard and with our program.
He's also one of those guys that no matter who you talk to about in local basketball, they have a Morgan Wootten story. And it just, when you can touch that many people that didn't even directly, play under you or work for you, I think that says a lot about him and character and the legacy there. So very cool. From there, you really took a step down, I would say, in terms of coaching. As a Maryland alum, I think I have to get at least one Duke shot in here at the beginning of the podcast. But you went to play at Duke, played for Coach K. I mean, that's as good as it gets between high school and college coaches. What was that experience like overall? And what's it like when Coach K walks into your living room to recruit you to go to somewhere like Duke?
Yeah, it's kind of like I was a guy that stepped in shit twice and came out smelling like roses, right? Unbelievable. Like, I'm just a little kid from uptown, Washington, D.C., and to have those two guys that have been mentors and people that have influenced me in my life is just incredible. I wanted Duke and I needed Duke, and I came from a program that it made me go to Duke because I wanted to win. And at that point in time, Duke had gone, I think, 6 out of 8 Final Fours and hadn't gotten over the hump yet. But the thing that was important to me was that Coach K was a winner. And I had opportunities to attend a lot of different other schools. But I just remember talking to my cousin who was getting recruited by Oklahoma and wanted me to go to Oklahoma with him. Mm-hmm. I just told him, I said, man, I want to go to Duke to win a national championship. Yeah. And, I was fortunate and lucky enough to be able to do that at Duke. But Coach K was the best. There's what a leader and a person that just can really, I think, lead men better than anybody else I've been around. He commands a room and space like no one else I've been around. I just really respect the heck out of him. And certainly as a player, you know, you don't understand all the different things and nuances that go on with being a coach, a teacher, a mentor, a leader. But stepping back from being a player and now being a coach and the head coach, you know, there's a greater appreciation for the work that he's done and things that he's accomplished. I just can't speak enough about the things that he's done in the game of basketball, but also just I think his talent of leading men, the people that he's influenced, the people that he's touched, either through Duke or outside of Duke, that have gone on to do incredible things. So just really, really lucky to have that opportunity to be one of Coach K's players.
You mentioned wanting to go there and do a lot of winning. You guys obviously did that. You went 99-34 during your time at Duke, which is incredible to think about that kind of track record. Did you win one national championship there or two? Coach?
I was part of 2 national championships there.
Okay. Red shirt the first year, or?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, gotcha. That's honestly incredible. One of your teammates there, it's a name everybody who likes college basketball will know, with Christian Laettner. And I do my Wizards podcast with former Wizard Jahadi White, and we had Atan Thomas on last week, and they both told a story about how Laettner was the guy that they didn't expect to like, and ended up he was one of their favorite teammates. I guess, what was he like as a college teammate? We've all seen the I Hate Christian Laettner documentary and things like that, but what's the true story from one of his college teammates?
Well, I first met Christian when I went on my official visit.
Okay.
Brian Davis and Christian Laettner hosted me, and had a really great weekend with him and Brian, and they did an unbelievable job at showing me Duke, you know, the Duke way. And from that relationship, when I remember sitting in my freshman dorm and Christian flew into Raleigh-Durham Airport his probably junior year, and it was the beginning of school, and he didn't have a ride from the airport. And it was before the days of cell phones. So he called the room, and typically rooms are passed down from player to player. Okay. So I just happened to be living in that room, and he called, and I just remember just a funny kind of interaction between us then and there. But he got to campus, and we both loved ping pong.
Okay.
So
I'm sure he was competitive at that too, right?
There's no doubt about it. First time we played, I got the better of him.
Okay.
And he wouldn't play me for about a month. But what he did is he went to a ping pong place near campus and practiced every day.
Jeez.
And came back, and that's how competitive he is. But I couldn't have a better teammate, somebody that was so competitive, that wanted to win, that put winning above everything. But just a guy that was very helpful for me as a young player. I remember my first start was against UVA, and it was his junior year. And, you know, I was nervous, and he just came over and made sure, you know, I didn't want to mess up the boat. We were playing for the ACC championship, regular season championship, and my first start was going to play some considerable minutes because some guys were injured, and he just made me feel comfortable and confident. So what a great dude. No, I absolutely can't say enough about Christian and type of person he is, and certainly the type of player that he is well documented.
Talk a lot about the Duke brotherhood, and you hear those things, but the Duke coaching community, coaching tree is almost as impressive as the player community there too. You played with Steve Wojciechowski, Chris Collins, Jeff Capel. Trajan Langdon is not coaching actively, but he's running the front office down in New Orleans. I mean, that right there is impressive. And then you mentioned Bobby Hurley and people like that too. Did you guys just sit around and decide you were going to take over the coaching world in the dorms? Like, how did that work out that way?
Totally. I think because we all had, you know, a great foundation. You know, Steve playing over at Cardinal Gibbons, Bobby playing for his dad at St. Anthony's, Trajan kind of, you know, being Mr. Alaska at basketball and having an opportunity to grow and develop there. You look at Chris Collins with his dad, being the former Bulls coach, Wizards coach, and Jeff Capel, dad, Mr. Felton Capel, who's one of my favorite people ever, was a college coach at North Carolina A&T and also at Old Dominion. Did some stuff with the 76ers as well. Like, everybody came from an incredible pedigree of basketball.
Sure.
So it's I think that's a credit to Coach K and understanding how to build a great winning tradition, but also cultures to get people that come from great basketball pedigrees. And that's something that we're trying to do at Howard University right now. So that's just a testament, I think, to Coach K and his vision and understanding how to put those pieces of the puzzle together.
That was actually going to be my next question. So great segue here. When you think about things you took from your experience playing for Coach K, are they more on the court tactical things? Or are they more team building, roster building, locker room chemistry building? If you had to pick one side or the other.
I mean, Matt, it's even bigger than that. I went to Duke when Duke wasn't the Duke that we see today.
Sure.
We were, like I mentioned before I got there, I think they went to 6 out of 8 Final Fours. And you would think that at that point in time, Duke had arrived. We still had a small locker room with metal lockers. And it wasn't the bells and whistles that, you would see today or would think, that our program would have at that point in time. It still was a basic mom and pop kind of operation that just was a program that was on a national level.
Sure.
So to see how he put together and developed the infrastructure, how he put together and developed the brand, how he built his brand, because there's kind of like 3 brands at Duke. There's Duke basketball, there's Coach K, and there's Duke University.
Yep.
And he's been masterful in that area, in that space, and understanding a complete, I think, 360 degree scope of building a program. He's done it like a business, and to see how he's won on the court, the things that he's done off the court is just, I think, what a testament to him and his vision and intelligence of how this thing should look, feel, smell. And, today it's probably one of the most recognizable college brands in sports.
While you were there during that time, was coaching on your radar? Was that something you thought you might want to get into longer term? Were you taking notes throughout, or was this like a later decision toward the end of your college career?
It was definitely a later decision. Obviously, every young man, I would hope that plays the game and the sport would have dreams and about being a professional athlete.
Sure.
And that was first and foremost. But that's there's only 40 or 50 of those jobs that change over a year, and there's only 450 of them that are around. So for some of us, the press conference of retirement comes sooner than later. And I did an interview my senior year with a gentleman named Bob Bender, who was the head coach at the University of Washington, and he had a spot open for one of his full-time assistants. And I hadn't graduated college yet. It was still the spring of 95, my senior year. But the third spot in the Pac-10 at that time as an assistant coach was paying 6 digits. And like I said, I was just a little kid from uptown Washington, D.C., and I was like, oh, wow, there's 6-digit jobs in coaching. Like, this is pretty cool.
It doesn't sound too bad.
Doesn't sound too bad for a 22, 23-year-old guy. Let me start to kind of work towards this industry a little bit. So that was a thing that was, and having great talks with Tommy Amaker and Mike Bray. Mike Bray had a lot of the same pedigree as me, went to DeMatha, coached DeMatha, was an assistant coach at Duke. Tommy Amaker from the area, Washington, W.T. Woodson, played at Duke, coached at Duke at the time. And, they were just saying, like, hey, when you look at your pedigree, you've played for Coach K, you've played for Morgan Wootten. Like, for you in this path, there's not too many people like you.
That's a pretty good leg up.
So it was a number of things that really kind of helped and pushed me in that direction. And I'm very grateful that I became a coach and listened to those guys.
I could do another couple minutes just on all the other guys that you eventually coached under, but just a couple ones to throw out here. Lefty Driesell, former Maryland coach at JMU, Mike Bray while he was still at Delaware, Tommy Amaker at Harvard, Was that like an intentional choice by you to get as much experience under as many different coaches that they all kind of have slightly different styles, I would say, but they're all really good at what they do. I guess, was that just sort of how it played out, or was that something you had in mind to kind of learn from as many different people as possible?
No, Matt, that's a great question. Part of it is just trial and error, to be honest.
Sure.
Part of it is just familiarity.
Mhm.
I couldn't get an assistant coaching job at Maryland or at Georgetown. I never, I tried, but being a Dookie, sometimes that doesn't, as good as it may be from the outside world, from the bigger scope of the world, that may not be the best things for everyone.
Sure.
So my blessing sometimes was a curse. So thankfully, I had great mentors like Tommy Amaker that gave me an opportunity, Mike Bray, David Henderson, Lefty Drizel, who's actually a Dookie as well.
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate that the Duke pedigree and family tree have taken care of me in the past. And, I speak to those guys on a regular, and, with Coach Amaker and Coach Bray, they've been so hands-on in my development and with the things that I'm doing at Howard. I made sure when we won the MEAC tournament this year and the MEAC conference championship to get those guys rings. That's how influential they've been on my life. And I tell them both, I say, I never can repay you for what you've done, but hopefully I can make you proud. So that's been our relationship, and those our Dookies. Quinn Snyder down in Atlanta has been incredible. Antonio Lang, one of my teammates who's an assistant coach with Quinn, has been extremely helpful in building and developing a lot of the things we do at Howard. So it's been a family and effort, and I'm very grateful for that.
I think that's like a DMV mindset too, right? Of just kind of everybody seems to rally around people from the DMV, and it's nice to hear you giving shout outs to those guys as well. I think that's something that I've heard a lot doing this podcast from other coaches in the area. Is just that, especially around here, people try to do that with you. I'm glad to hear that the Duke connection is real, and it's like that as well. We'll get into sort of the X's and O's aspect of this here a little bit, and I think you're a great tactician, but also some real recruiting wins here too. Mentioned the time at Harvard, but you're credited as the guy that kind of found Jeremy Lin. You also got Makur Maker to come to Howard. He's the first 5-star recruit to ever go to an HBCU. Is that something you pride yourself in? Is just one, finding lesser heralded guys, but also being able to get, somebody of a higher profile to trust you enough to come to a program like Howard and help you build things up the right way?
Yeah, I thank you for saying that. I've never thought about it. I honestly haven't ever thought about it. It's just been something that's natural, right? It's a relationship. It's not something that's transactional to me. I've always looked at it as, I'm stepping into this lane, certainly to present our university to you and our basketball program, but also, I was talking to a good friend, Herb Courtney, who is now was a former player at the University of Delaware. I recruited him when I was there as an assistant coach, and he went on to become an assistant coach and did a tremendous job in the basketball ranks and started the first Black kind of higher education search firm called Renaissance. And he and I were talking yesterday, and, it's kind of funny how things come full circle, but the gist of this part that I'm talking about is that, when we're talking, he and I said, I said, Herb, when I recruited you, I told you I'll be there for you, throughout the duration. It's just not a deal where you're coming to be, 4 years or however long this relationship
It's not
is.
a stepping stone kind of thing, right?
Not a stepping stone. And, so that's, for me, that's been like who I am as, I guess, a coach, as a recruiter. And it means more to me to be able to, I think, have those kind of relationships where if I can ever be there for them, throughout their duration and their journey as, becoming a college student athlete, to a man, to a husband, I'm certainly there. I'm a phone call away, or a car ride away, or plane ride away. And I think that really resonates a lot with our student athletes that we recruit. and present our program to. So I've just been lucky. I think that I've have taken an opportunity and a deep dive and really understanding what talent is, and seeing that. One of the jobs that I've had outside of basketball is I was basically the talent evaluator at Under Armour.
Oh, that's
and,
huge. Yeah.
And would see 1,500 kids a summer. So, trying to evaluate 1,500 kids a summer, you're seeing every different tier and level of kid.
Right.
So I've been lucky just to kind of sit in the right classrooms, Matt, and to be around the right people and, take in everything I can while being in those classrooms and around those people. And hopefully it pays off in the long run.
That's a very humble answer, by the way, and I respect that. I mean, you got to be able to make the most of those opportunities when they come up, and I think just given the success you guys have had already, you're definitely doing that. I try to research these things pretty hard when I do these interviews, and one of the things that I continually like seeing from you specifically is just some of your responses about, you guys have kind of, I'm going to air quotes, turned this thing around a little bit at Howard already. Hadn't had a winning season there in almost 20 years. And in year 3, you guys immediately had a winning season, going 16-13, went 22-13 last year. But every quote I can find about that success so far is basically you talking about like, yeah, we did that, but we're not dwelling on that, not wanting to be complacent, trying to move on from that immediately. I really respect that mindset. I just got 2 quotes for you, not to read you back to you, but for the listener at home. Said, I wasn't Howard's first choice, and I knew that. I was probably their 4th or 5th choice. For a lot of guys in our program that didn't have options, they were overlooked. We have guys on our staff that people gave up on. And you also said, for a school and a program that hadn't done it in a long time, it's been intoxicating in a bad way. I'm very guarded about this upcoming year. I'm ready to get started. We need to start as soon as possible. I love that. Is that something that just comes natural to you? Is that something you've learned over time, like that you want to focus on? And do you kind of look for players that have a similar kind of chip or mindset, about success and building on it?
Yeah, I mean, wow, that got me a little, took me back a little bit, because I remember that quote, and starting from the first part, going through the process, I wasn't Howard's first choice, and that's fine. But when I was going through the process, I told our AD that I would be the best hire he's ever made, and while he's been a leader.
You're making him look good so far.
I'm doing my best, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Just to make it clear, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and she was talking about colleges the other day. And I told her, I was like, no matter where you go or what school you attend, Howard will be on your list of 3.
Yeah,
because I'm that grateful for them giving me the opportunity, and I've had to make the most of the opportunity. But yeah, when you look at our team, like our first recruiting classes, we had guys that didn't have scholarships. They were overlooked, like I was probably being overlooked. They didn't get opportunities like I didn't get opportunities. And it wasn't intentional that we were building our program like this, but with our staff, with some of our assistant coaches, with most of our kids on our team, it was just we were a group of guys that had at that point in time been overlooked, undervalued, and it was when you put that collective power and everybody authentically understands that and genuinely understands it, it can be powerful. Sure. And when you look at our team this year, we have some young men that are probably along the same lines as the guys that we've had in the past. We have Steph Towns, who, for a lot of people, they've given up on him.
Yeah, he's had a tough go of it the last couple of years with injuries and things too.
Absolutely. And at one point in time, he gave up on himself, and retired from basketball. We have a gentleman that was played 2 years at Minnesota Duluth, graduated as a sophomore, and is in law school. And he's had his challenges. And just so we have a group of guys that, for some reason or another, I guess we've all gravitated to one another, that hopefully we can use that as fuel and ammunition to kind of, help us pursue another championship this year.
I think, not to put this on you guys, but a lot of times when you have that sort of special group, and it's the guys like that when they come together in kind of the right ways, and it seemed like that was kind of the case last year of just things worked out for you. What are the goals with the program? Like, is last year where you guys want to be? Like, what's your expectations for what Howard can be and where you want to get it to?
Yeah, I'm a dreamer, Matt. And, one of the kind of hashtags we have for our program is that we're the Dream Factory.
Love that.
And the reason why is because there's been so many wonderful accomplishments that have been done on our campus, from the first Black Supreme Court Justice to the first Black, Vice President of the United States. You can go down the line. Marianne Shad Carey is the first Black woman to vote in a major election. To, if you look at Mayor Dinkins of New York, the first Black mayor of New York, the first Black governor of Virginia. There's been a ton of firsts and some incredible accomplishments from Howard University. But Howard has never had a sustainable Division I basketball program that I think could do things in a way that just when I'm thinking about it, it's huge. Like, when I've gone down to the African American Museum here in Washington, D.C., and I think about who our constituents can be, like everybody that's coming into the African American Museum understands and has probably an affinity or of some sorts with Howard University. Our university is global. It is known across the world. And if we can get this basketball thing rolling to a point where, we're going to the NCAA tournament every year, we're winning games, we have a chance to get to the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16 or, Final Four. I just think that could be such a wonderful story, knowing that HBCU in the heart of Washington, D.C., that has all the history that it does, especially academically and with our alum success, to have like a successful basketball program will ignite this place as if it's never been ignited before. So there's a big picture of kind of a vision of this. A lot of it is a dream, but that's been who I am. I don't dream myself to DeMatha, Duke, and now being the head coach at Howard if that wasn't the case. So I don't know what this thing can be. I don't know what it can become, but I do know what it can become. But now there's steps to get there.
Sure.
Before it was an undervalued stock, right? And now we're actually relevant in conversations in college basketball, which is so crazy. And now can we become one of those universities that, can we become a Gonzaga? Can we become a Loyola Chicago? Can we become a St. Mary's? Can we become a San Diego State? Can we be one of these mid-major programs that, in the conversation of the NCAA tournament is making a run year in and year out and winning games?
It's going to be my next question too. Just sort of the ingredients you need to be able to build a mid-major, air quotes, program into something bigger. And I think Howard has those things. It has an esteemed alumni base. It's from a metropolitan area where people are interested in the sport. It's a recruiting field that's ripe with talent, and you have a prestigious academic institution that should, people should want to go there and get a degree from. To me, like, those are all huge factors, and it seems like you guys have already taken that first step toward making that happen. And obviously you need some help along the way. And now a lot of the conversation around things like NIL has become, like who's going to give, like what alums are giving money and things like that. But I also think that's twofold, where promoting and uplifting the basketball program helps you guys then promote the university and spread that name and get more people interested in the school and get more alums and the next generation of kids. So I think that's a really cool, cyclical thing to be a part of there.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's, in college basketball, it's kind of funny. I was lucky to be a fly in the room one day when Coach Bray and Coach K were having a conversation. And it was like Coach K was talking about when he recruits a young man, his competition is the NBA. And they need to have all the bells and whistles that NBA teams have. And Coach Bray talked about, because he was at a mid-major college at the time, University of Delaware, that, when he recruits a kid, he has to recruit a kid the same way at Delaware that high majors recruit kids at Power 5 schools. And the reason is because you have these young men that play AAU, high school basketball. They're friends with these young men, and they see how they're getting recruited. So, in that vein, yeah, you have to have some of these bells and whistles that Power 5 schools have. You have to have an NIL package or a collective that is making an effort to try to, give you the best possibility and chances to get young men year in and year out. You have to have the infrastructure set up, right? You have to have locker rooms, practice facilities, great training facilities, gym renovations, a schedule that you can play that say we have games on TV because their friends are playing on TV.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's a lot of things that go into it that it's, when you start peeling the orange back and looking at the different layers of it, Matt, it's challenging. Again, I was with Rod Balanis yesterday, and we were just kind of talking, and he said at some point, he goes, look, beyond the fundraising, beyond all this other stuff that you do to build this program up, he goes, at some point in time, you just have to lock in and focus on coaching our team. Because there's so many different hats that you can wear as a head coach, right? You can, as much as you can have, try to do stuff with the collective and whatever that looks like and whatever you can do at that, so you have that. You have trying to build and develop the infrastructure. You're trying to be a fundraiser. You're trying to build, locker rooms. You're trying to build new offices. You're trying to recruit. You have young men on your team that you have to mentor and be a big brother to at points in times, or an uncle, or even a father figure to some. You got to worry about the academics. You got to worry about different things that are happening in the NCAA, scheduled games, whatever those things are. It never ends. So, and then the thing that you really get paid for is that you have to win games, and graduate young men. So it comes to a point where at some point in time, there's so many different things that go on to building a program and building a competitive program that I think young men see as a viable option for themselves. But yeah, you have to lock in, and I'm going to put a little sticky on my cell phone that says "Coach the team," because that is the most important thing that I can be doing right now to help our university, I think, with the visibility and the brand possible.
You mentioned all those hats and having to just coach the team. And I think just transitioning into this year's roster, you've put a really talented one together. I mean, as somebody, I feel like I watch as much college basketball as anybody. And there are some names here that maybe the casual fan doesn't know. And I hope, the DMV basketball fans especially will come to know over the course of the season, because you've got some dudes, and obviously it's all got to fit together and all those things, but having a talented roster is not a bad place to start out here. I just want to maybe start out. Well, first of all, you lost 3 starters from last year, and you guys had a very kind of balanced approach to last year's team, I think. So that's sometimes makes it tougher than just replacing, one guy. But let's start with Shai Odom, maybe. I think that's a young man who could probably be player of the league this year in the conference. And that's probably maybe the first name for fans to know as they kind of get familiar with this Howard team.
Yeah, and that's a great one to start with. Shaheem Odom, out of Boston, Massachusetts, and he went to high school at Sierra Canyon, was with teammates with Bronny James, just to give you a little bit more context on it. He is, for me, I'm so proud of him. I've seen so much growth. And Matt, I'm not just saying that, just like, the growth that he's had off the court and the growth that he's had as a leader with our team has been night and day. Maturity that he's shown this year. He's done things off the court to prepare himself for this year. He's a vegetarian now, gotten his body in great shape. He's really worked on a lot of deficiencies that he's had in the past and made them a lot stronger. He's been an unbelievable teammate and somebody that I have a very high expectation for. He's only a sophomore, but, I think that Shaheem has his best basketball ahead of him, and he's already done a whole lot in this space at college and also in high school. So looking forward to him. He's 6'6". He probably weighs about 215, 210 right now, and has really worked on becoming a more solid and stable perimeter player, shooting the ball really well right now from the three-point line, and excited to kind of put Shy out there. Don't know how it's going to work. The piece is going to come together, but he has such I think a skill set with him that really just connects our team that I'm excited about.
I think if anyone's just looking at like his stats from last year, you're thinking like maybe like, oh, well, like, oh, okay. But I think he seems like the kind of guy that just really fits what you all seem to like to do. And you need those kind of guys that carry over and establish that identity for the next year's team. And another one is Jelani Williams. This is somebody that's going to get in you and get after you. And the way you all play defense and picking people up full court, like he's somebody that seems like he would be a tone setter for everybody else on the roster too.
Matt, first and foremost, he is the best leader I've ever been around.
Wow. Awesome.
on a team sport, period. Like not even close. Like I've been around some incredible leaders.
Yeah, sure.
He is the best leader I've ever been around. And I think part of what's made our team successful and given us an opportunity to kind of had some consistency is our team is run by our student athletes and our leaders. So it allows me to just kind of coach our team now. And a lot of the times I don't even have to do that because they'll do it before I even can make the
you need that.
Yeah. So and Jelani is the guy that is front and center with a lot of that. I can't speak enough on the type of person he is, the type of character, the type of leader. He's a guy that probably will be running some Fortune 500 company, or a guy that's in, up on Capitol Hill, or, can be potentially a general manager or a president of an NBA club. Like that's the type of dude he is. Went to Howard University Middle School, so he's very familiar with the campus and the culture of Howard. Went to Sidwell Friends as a high school kid. Did his undergraduate at UPenn, and now getting his master's in finance from Howard University. I mean, there's not a better resume in the country than that right there.
It's a good start in life, yeah.
It's a great start. And then he happens to be one of the most competitive people that I've ever been around as well. Super skill, can do anything on a basketball court. Unfortunately, for him, that he lost 3 seasons to ACL injuries. And because he lost those 3 seasons to ACL injuries, we've at Howard have actually been able to benefit because we were able to get him once his eligibility was done at Penn to come play for us at Howard. And we wouldn't be MEAC champions last year if it wasn't for him. So I can't speak enough about him and the type of person he is. And that character piece, Matt, is going to be consistent with all the people we talk about on our team, because I love each and every one of those guys and who they are and their character. They all are high character people.
I think a common theme of successful teams is that it has to be some amount player driven. No matter how good you and your staff are, it still has to come from those leaders of the team. And when you've got someone like that that's bounced back from those kind of injuries, and especially something like defense, like he could take it easy, he could slack, but that's a want to effort kind of thing. So nobody else can kind of take a day off because he's not taking a day off. And I got to imagine that's especially for the way you all play basketball, like that's a big piece of that. Everybody coming in new to this program, that's the first guy you see playing that way. I got to imagine there's no excuses for anybody else at that point.
Absolutely, Matt, you're right on point. I just, we need to rest him, and we need to monitor how he practices. And I'll turn around and I'm like, you're supposed to be sitting out, and he's out on the court diving for loose balls or
protect him from himself a little bit. Right?
He's just, but that's who he is. And so I like I said, I couldn't speak enough about him because he's just the type of young man he is. He's the best by none.
We mentioned Seth Towns here a little bit. Anybody that follows the Big Ten or any of the other local programs maybe remembers that name from Ohio State. Hasn't played since 2020, 2021 season. had his own, litany of injuries and things like that. I guess, is he fully healthy? Will we see, full Seth Towns this season, or are we going to kind of ease him into the year a little bit?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
He is right now practicing.
That's great.
We're monitoring his wear and tear on his body.
Sure.
But he's gotten to a point where he's comfortable.
Mhm.
He's pain-free, and we want to make sure that we can have him for the duration. But I mean, Matt, if all things being equal, if he was healthy, he'd be in the NBA.
Right.
At 6'8", he is really skilled. He can do any and everything on the court. Has been a consistent 40% three-point shooter his whole college career. And he really stands for everything that our university stands for and what our program stands for. During the George Floyd murder and the social unrest, Seth was in Columbus, Ohio, the day that he graduated from Harvard, protesting. And because he was protesting, a group of police officers came up and arrested him for being part of the protest. But he's that, and that's a big part of our university. Not that we want our young people to go out and to get arrested or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but
sure. But doing the right thing and standing up for what they believe in.
Absolutely. That's what our university is built on. Social justice and equality. And Seth really stands for both of those things and even more. But just excited about him this year and what he can bring to our program, I think, on and off the court. He had a big smile on his face last practice because he had a great practice and just was able to get through a lot of it pain-free and no swelling on the knee. And, he's going through uncharted territory right now with his health, and it's very exciting for him. So I'm happy for him.
I think the reason Howard is also such a good situation for him is just you guys do have some depth here, and you don't have to rely on him to be 29 minutes a game every night to have a chance in these games, which is great. From an outsider perspective looking in, maybe the one thing I would say is kind of questionable on paper so far would be the 3-point shooting. Hard to beat, threes with twos, but I think there are some better shooters on your roster than maybe they've shown thus far in their career here. Obviously, Marcus Dockery, former Terp, he shoots the shit out of it already. But are there any other guys here that you're expecting a big year from shooting the ball that maybe haven't shown it on the court so much so far?
Yeah, Matt, that's a great question. And, I think one thing is that the way we play is we love our players to get standstill, feet set threes. And they're not doing a whole lot off the bounce and getting into their bag and then pulling up for a three. So we feel like if our guys can get great standstill, feet set threes, that we're going to shoot at a higher percentage. We got Jordan Harrison, who's a local young man. He went to Flint Hill, Northern Virginia, and he's shot over 43% for a year when he was at Texas Corpus Christi. So we think that he's a guy that can shoot it really well. Seth Towns has shot it over 40% every year that he's been eligible and played. We really feel Marcus Dockery can be a guy this year that I think he was at 42, 43% last year. We think that he can be right around that range or even higher. We have guys that I think can really, really shoot it, but it's just the type of shots that they get is going to be really important for us.
For anyone who hasn't seen Howard play, I think you guys are always incredible from a ball movement perspective, at least from what I've seen. Not that I've seen every Howard game ever, but at least last year's team, that seemed like a hallmark. And I have heard that you do some amount of practicing where guys are not allowed to dribble and they must take a certain amount of passes before they're allowed to shoot the ball. And I think that probably leads to some of those standstill threes and things like that. Is that something that you guys are really harping on with this year's team again and trying to reinforce?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be a little different this year. We'll play more inside out. I think, I had a great conversation with Grant Hill, who is, I think, the president of USA Basketball now.
Also a former teammate of yours too, right?
Yeah, and this was right after the FIBA World Championships, which, the USA, I don't even know if we medaled in that situation. But we were just talking about the style of play that I was thinking about this year, which is going to be more inside out. I still want to play with pace and
Sure.
in space, but I think our strength is going to be a little bit more. Can we play bully ball?
Mhm.
Dom Campbell, young man that transferred from Notre
Yep.
Dame. He's 6'8", 6'9", 260 pounds. Shaheem Odom is a big body. I don't know what position he is.
Yeah.
Bryce Harris is a big body, again, positionless basketball player. Ty Woe, who is a guy that has played limited minutes for us, but he's going to have a presence for us this year, is 6'9", 6'10", 250 pounds, a big body guy with great hands and great touch around the basket. We have bigger guards in Jelani Williams, Isaiah Warfield. Isaiah transferred from Liberty and has 2 years of eligibility as a grad transfer. So we have bigger bodies. Seth Towns at 6'8", and very strong upper body as a guy that can post. So I want to really, I think, try to dominate the paint. And in doing so, I think it's going to give us an opportunity to be a little different.
Mhm.
And when you watch the FIBA World Championships, a lot of those European teams still
Yeah.
play through the post.
Mhm.
You see guys that are on these European teams that are kind of like role players for their NBA teams, or very limited in their role, be stars with their national teams.
Mhm.
And the way that college basketball teams are trying to build right now is they're building with more positionless 5-out basketball players. So we think that by being really physical, playing inside out, where teams are kind of, architecturally building teams the opposite way, will give us a greater chance to play and have success for this year's team.
Another blueprint, it seems relatable for you guys too, is the NBA champion from last year too, in the Denver Nuggets. You've mentioned, letting Dom Campbell kind of do the Nurkic role, right, and play out of the high post and create for other guys, and that seems to be working in basketball right now. So not a bad blueprint to try to follow.
Absolutely not. No, I'm so excited about Dom Campbell, and it's kind of interesting when I look at some of the preseason analytics and different publications. Not a lot of people have given him
Mhm.
any thought of being a really good player in our league, yet along our team. I saw
Sure.
one thing that said he'd be like a 6.5 point a game guy, and a couple rebounds. And I was just like, wow, that's not the same guy I see every day in practice.
Sure.
Like, getting busy.
Mhm.
But he's going to have a chance to be player of the year. And that, to have two guys on your team that probably are legit player of the year candidates is, it's exciting. It's exciting.
One of the things I consistently advocate for in basketball is more inside out play. So I love to hear that. But the other one is just, it seems like some of the teams that had success in last year's NCAA tournament were really good about attacking the offensive glass. So you think about San Diego State. That's something you guys did a very good job of last year too. Is that a point of emphasis for you all, or is that just sort of how it worked out with the personnel you guys had?
Well, that's a great question, Matt. I think when I look at basketball, my second year, actually my year 3 for me, we lost year 2 because of COVID.
Sure.
But year 3 for me, I think we had right around 7 to 9 games that we lost, probably by 1 to 3 possessions.
Wow.
And it made me think about, like, how do you steal possessions?
Mhm.
Right? And I kind of checked the boxes on a couple different areas on how to steal possessions, and we try to emphasize it every day in practice. And offensive rebounding is certainly one.
Okay.
And again, this year, having the type of bodies we have, I want our guys just to really dominate and try to be. I don't want to use the word bullies because I don't want to have the wrong connotation,
Sure. I know.
but the context of it is I want them to dominate the post.
Yeah.
Because we do have those bodies. We have big physical guys that aren't afraid to be big and physical.
Mhm.
And we need to do that. It's a little bit like a boxer, right? And that's my analogy to them. Like, before we were a lot of pace and we're a lot of space, and we shot more threes, and that was kind of how we were built. And we were able to kind of wear teams down, picking them up full court, playing a faster pace, and using 10, players each game to kind of wear teams down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to still try to wear teams down, but it's going to be structurally and tactically a little different. Like from a boxing perspective, now we're going to be more a body punching team.
Sure.
Where can we attack your body? Or for football reference, can we be a like the Washington
power run team? Yeah.
Can we be Rigo and the boys with the Hogs up front?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my vision this year. And, I talk about our guys, like each and every time you have a chance to touch somebody or hit somebody with a screen or a box out or anything where it's within the structure of the rules that we do within our offensive defense, to do it. Not being dirty, not breaking any rules, but like if we can set a nice hard screen on a pick and roll, hit them.
Yeah, make them feel you. Yeah.
Make them feel you. Yeah. And over a period of 40 minutes, we really feel like, getting hit, when we called it getting touched, over and over for a period of 40 minutes will really, I think, wear teams down both mentally and physically. So that's kind of the vision for this year's team and what I'd like to see happen. But so offensive rebounding is part of that equation, yes.
I think so much about what you're talking about here is just controlling pace in one way or the other. And when you press people full court and things like that, like that's controlling the pace. But also when you make the point of emphasis to put the ball in the paint, have long extended possessions, let them kick it out, reestablish in the post, like you're just controlling pace a different way. And I think that's the thing I like more about college basketball maybe than NBA basketball is it seems a little, there are more ways to do that, it seems like. So I'm looking forward to watching that. For anyone who hasn't seen Howard play before, give them the sales pitch here. Like let's get people excited for this year's team, and what can they expect when they watch a Howard University Bison's basketball game this season?
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I say this respectfully, and I do mean it. I don't want to come off brash or any kind of way, but over the last 2 years, we are the winningest Division I basketball program in the DMV. More wins than the University of Maryland, Georgetown University, George Mason, American University, and George Washington. And that hasn't happened probably since the early 80s or late 70s. So we're extremely proud of that. And if you come see a Howard University game, you're going to see a fun product that is fun to play and fun to watch. I think, like, for me, I talk to our guys about, like, I want us to be the smartest basketball team in the country. I don't know if that can happen, but that's what I want us to be. And we have young men that have high basketball IQs. We won't be perfect, but our intentions will be great. And if you come see our Howard basketball game, I definitely know you'll come back for a second one. We're going to have, I think we were the only team last year in the city that won a conference championship and won a tournament championship in their league. So we're pursuing that this year. I saw with so many different publications, they have us right there at either one or two.
Yep.
And I think that's probably accurate for our talent, and looking at the league, which had so much turnover. We think we had, with our kind of base guys, more continuity than any other team in the league.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, I have not been to a game personally, but I hear good things about Burr Arena. So I'm looking forward to checking that out this year. It holds almost 3,000 people. That seems like the right kind of college basketball environment. It gets pretty loud in there from what I hear. So I think that's another sales pitch for people, is come see a good, fun basketball environment.
Well, definitely, Matt. And I think the other thing, too, for families, like, it economically, it is very reasonable.
Right.
Our ticket sales are very affordable. Our concession area is very affordable. And in terms of the HBCU culture and the Howard culture, our games are entertaining. We have a disc jockey. We have several dance teams. We have our band playing. So it is a great bang for the buck. And I appreciate you bringing that up about our arena. For me, it reminds me of Cameron Indoor Stadium a little bit.
That's cool.
And it's one of the things that I told my AD when I got the job, that, he talked about a relationship that he has and that the university has with the Go-Go's Arena and moving our games there. But I was like, Cameron Indoor Stadium is only, 7,000-8,000 people there, right? And they can probably seat 15 to 20 every night. But they've never changed Cameron Indoor Stadium. And the second thing is, I wanted our students to have a great campus, experience. Not to travel over to the Go-Go's Arena. That would take several hours to get there and get back, and a couple hours with the game. And I just felt like that would take them away from being students. And then, what memories could they have if we have a really good team coming to Burr and just walking from their dorm and headed back to their dorm after the game. So for us, it's all about our students having a great student experience at our games.
And if you help them have a good experience, they come out more, which in turn helps you. And I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely, Matt. But the other thing that happens too is that, when they're in the position to donate and give back, or tell young people in their area, if they're doing stuff in the alumni space, that Howard is a place where I had the best 4 years of my life, that's a win as well.
Yeah, that's really cool to be able to play a part in that for everybody. And it, that's one of the things people talk about at a school is how good the academics were and how much fun they had during the experience. So basketball and sports definitely play a big part of that. So very cool. Coach, last thing for you, just switching gears away from basketball a little bit here. Can you give us one fun fact about you, guilty pleasure TV show, music, like something that the average person may not know about you?
Oh, wow. That is a tough question. One thing, maybe this, that I still can skateboard.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I still can skateboard. I want to learn to surf. And let's see, guilty pleasures on TV. I don't watch anything but news and ESPN or basketball. So
can't blame you.
I do want our Washington Commanders to get it right. Yeah. And part of getting it right is move back to DC. Let's get RFK rocking and rolling, or whatever that place would be. I'm a huge football fan and would love to see this place get rocking and rolling again.
That would definitely be nice. Being in the city, I think, is a really good starting point for that too. It's the same thing. Build up the fan base, build up not they need to build the fan base, but build up the environment like that. That helps the team, I think, there too. Very cool. Don't let any of those players skateboard, okay? We can't afford to have any of them breaking any bones or anything.
We just got to keep them off the motorized scooters, Matt. That's
it.
Yeah,
there you go.
We can do that.
Coach Blakeney, this was so great. Thank you for doing it and making this much time. I truly didn't mean to keep you for an hour, but I think I could ask you another 2 hours worth of stuff. So we would love to have you back anytime. And I'm wishing you a ton of success. And I will definitely be making it to a game this year. And I hope everybody listening to this makes it out to a bunch as well.
Thank you, Matt. This has been one of the most enjoyable interviews I've had. I appreciate you, and I thought you did a hell of a job. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. This is Howard University's coach, Kenny Blakeney. Check them out. They're awesome. If you like the podcast, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch you all next time.